Right, we're working on Chapter 6 now, and Chapter 6 has some very important concepts in it, and all the stuff in this chapter really relates to controlling page appearance and layout. And we've done a little bit of this, but not really to the type of precision that would really be required for creating very particular designs. So in class here, for example, I was showing this website, this thing that I worked on many years ago, and how I was able to take a graphic and convert it into a real website. But the thing that's really important here is how all the things sit on the page and how I got them to look that way, right? How did I get this box to sit there and not here? Why is this box with the rounded corners seemingly floating over the top of this other one? How did that happen? These are all things that I'm going to attempt to show you how to do in this chapter. A lot of it stems from this concept here, which is called the box model. And this is really an important concept in page design, because everything that you put on a page, anything that is content, so let's just say the text inside of a paragraph, that text as a paragraph has all of these features wrapped around it. So I'm going to actually pause the video here for a moment, because I'm going to use the book of it. All right, so once again, to just reiterate those basics that we just talked about on the board, the content will be whatever the content is. That could be a div, it could be a piece of text, it could be an image, it could be an H1. Whatever space on the screen it occupies, it occupies. We can then add to the size of that element by increasing the padding around it. And that's a very common technique, and we've already employed it. For example, like even this text box he has up on the screen here, there's a little bit of padding here because there's a space between that border and the content. If there was no padding, that content, that word content, would be pushed up into that corner. That's very hard to read. It's not really considered good design, and it's hard to read. So the border clearly would be the border, and this is really actually a good example that he has right here, right? So we have content, we have a border, we have padding, a little bit of padding, and then margin, which would be on the outside of the box, pushes away from it. So this might actually have a little margin from here to here, otherwise the next item would start directly adjacent to it. Now the manipulation of these three components is really important for page layout, especially when you're trying to do stuff like what I was showing you, where you're trying to get every pixel in its spot and have things lay out just right. You're counting pixels. So at the very least, you need to know how to do addition and subtraction. So you know that if you got 1,000 pixels worth of space and you try to put something in there that's 1,001, it's not going to fit. And then you got to be able to track it down and see where that adjustment needs to happen. So those are really very important components. That is all generated from what we call the box model, and this is technically the CSS box model. So every element that we're dealing with all have available to it margin, border, and padding. I know we've talked about these a little bit, and actually that's about all I'm going to talk about with it tonight. So I just want to give you a little bit of a preview with it so you get that concept. You should read up on it and play with it a little bit. We're going to cap the lecture for tonight, and I'm going to be actually adjusting our due dates a little bit to accommodate for the extra time it's going to take. So in other words, we'll come back next week and finish this chapter, and the due dates will be, instead of a couple days after, it'll be several days after next week, just so you have enough time to finish the work. If you read up on it, on your own, you should be able to do the work anyhow. But I think that you get some invaluable tips here. All right, that wraps this portion of the lecture.